this. Bingo. Now I can see what's happening. And when it comes next to use the persuaders, I can see what's going on and I know where my chisel is going to go. But if you haven't cut that line away, then when you're working with your chisels later on, look at this, you're going to cut this but not this. It's really, really dangerous. So I speak from experience. Although this is a wasted motion and isn't really needed, it helps greatly in the visibility. So that's the reason there for most of this. What is it, 8:45? I have now cut both of these blocks, so like it or not, we are going to have to make some noise. The new hole in the bench. This hole wasn't here when I got this bench because the bench was owned by a right-handed carver, and his hole is over on the other side. His hole is over here because he worked with the blocks like this, banging with his right hand. So I had to chop a new hole in this beautiful old bench. So be it. The bench, I'm sure, wouldn't like having a hole cut in it, but it does like being used. That's the important thing here, isn't it? That's why there's two holes. I am a lefty. Oh, and also I realize now I'm not finished yet. I have to cut the outside of the oval. So just a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Too much distraction. Couldn't I have turned around the table? No, the table is at an angle. It's a one-way table. How old is the table? Well, it was owned, I know the previous owner, Harada Kametaro, he died in the late 1960s, 67 or 68, somewhere around there. He died, and the bench went into storage. Whether he was the first user of this bench or whether he received it from somebody else, I have no idea. And he had a full career. He worked post-war, but he also worked pre-war. So if we can assume that it's the same bench he had all of his career, he died in the 60s at 60-something. So he would have had this bench since the 1920s or 30s, somewhere on there. Again, I don't know. There's no documentation on it, but it fits the pattern. So my guess is it's around 100 years old. That would be the main guess. It could be, I mean, he wasn't working during the war, so it could be that, for example, say during the war, he lived in Tokyo. So let's assume that maybe they got bombed out or something. Their house was burned down in Tokyo. So when he came back to work then in the late 1940s, he would have maybe ordered a new bench. So this bench could be from that period too. If he ordered a new bench in, say, 1947 or 48, something like that, that could be the newest time frame for this bench. So it could date back to the 1920s or before if he inherited it. And then the youngest possibilities, it would date from, say, let's say 1950. See, like I say, most me, I'm 1951 legacy. So let's say he came back to work post-war, ordered the bench late 40s, early 50s. So the bench then would be pretty much the same age as me. But I don't know if they were burned out. I don't know. When I see his son drops in here every now and then, and I'll give him a jog about that. I'll ask him, do you actually know about your father's bench? Is it pre-war, can you tell, or was it post-war? He might know. He himself was just a little kid, you know, he wouldn't have even been born at the time that bench would have been made then, but, you know, he grew up in that house, so he may have a better understanding of it.